Okay, we are live. Alright, hey guys, this is Jamie, although if you've been around here before, you probably know me more as Boss Lady. I'm the editor-in-chief on MMOHuts, and also on RPG. Playing with us today is Fox. So he is managing all the playing and everything. I'm not in game. He'll be managing all the playing. I'll probably be doing more of the talking here. So what we're doing today is a sponsored stream for Albion Online. Turn down the music bit. Let us know if music is good there on that. Alright, yeah, let us know if that works or if we need to adjust it a little bit more. Okay, cool. So again, this is a sponsored stream from Albion Online. They have just launched their Lands Awakened update this week. So we are playing basically a relatively new character, only, what, probably an hour or two, well, maybe like 2 or 3 hours now, huh? Yeah, like 2 or 3 hours on this character. To be completely clear with y'all, we have not played Albion Online before. We I think have some gameplay of it on the channel before, but speaking personally between myself and Outfox here, this is still a relatively new game to us. So forgive us for any noobishness that might happen. You are welcome to offer or tips or anything as we go along. We're genuinely familiar with the game and the game style, but you know, don't feel like you know, we're experts here, because we're not. Yep. So Outfox, I believe, is working right now on getting the materials for the new weapon type. Yeah, it's a nice game. It's basically like if you took Ultima Online with the open world sandbox style of stuff, and you kind of really expanded it out, modernized it a bit, and made it a little bit more friendly for those who want to PvE or those who want to craft. So there's not as much like open world ganking as there is in some sandboxes. That said, there is open world PvP. You can't turn it off, but it depends on what zone you're in, what area you're in. So if you want to just run around and do PvE stuff, you're more than welcome to do that. You know, if you want to just play more casually and do your own stuff. And, you know, you won't be at any risk. Outfox tier isn't at any risk, and wouldn't be unless you went into a specifically PvP zone. Which is nice if you ever played any, like, Ultima Online or Ultima Online, inspired games. It tends to be full PvP, full loot all the time, and that can be frustrating for anybody. So that's something I like about this. But because it's a sandbox RPG, there are a few things to know about it. And I should mention, by the way, it is free to play. It has a full free to play option. It's not locked with like, oh, you can't access these areas unless you're a member. So everything is open to free to play players. Yeah, I do not care to have the ganking when I'm like just trying to do my thing. I'm not anti PvP at all, but for me, there's a time and a place for it. And if I don't want to be involved in it, I want to be able to have that option. So with Albion Online, you don't have a class-based system. Um, in it's a little bit well, yeah, okay. Yeah, so it is open-ended, and Outfox here has pulled up the what's it called again? The Destiny board? So if you've played Path of Exile, you might be familiar a little bit with this, although it's not the same as the Path of Exile setup. So on the Destiny board here, you basically earn experience in the different types of things or activities you do, and the different type of equipment you use. And that allows you to further specialize, further become stronger in those particular things. Yeah, it does. And so, you can work on learning whatever really you want. It is kind of a free option. Skills like Path of Exile, skills are based on the equipment that you have. So Path of Exile, uses like a gem system where you socket in your skills. This does not. However, it's based on the equipment that you're wearing. So the equipment itself has skills, and a lot of the equipment has like a choice of you can use this skill or that skill, which allows you to kind of decide along the lines of what you want to do. So if you want to, like me on my first character, I'm just kind of, messing around, getting familiar with the game. I am wearing full cloth armor, but I am trying to go down a two-handed axe line. So basically a pure glass cannon berserker type. That actually does give me increased attack and critical stats. It obviously, yeah, and because of that, obviously my defense is lower. But I also get access to some mage abilities. So I have access to a frost armor type mitigation spell. I have access to a knockback spell. I have access to a healing spell. So you can really kind of mix and match, and you don't have to like stick like all cloth armor. If you wanted, you could have like one cloth piece, one leather piece, and one heavy piece. So you can really kind of flex your gear around the skills that you want and the style that you want to play. So there's a new weapon type in this update this week, which is the War Gloves, which is what Alfox is slowly working on getting unlocked here. The War Gloves are basically a brawler type weapon. So, you've got your melee weapon, designed for, frontline brawling. Got a lot of damage and mobility, has some control abilities. So there are a few craftable variants available, and then the artifacts beyond that. So they have their own like combat and crafting masteries, which is along what we were talking on with the Destiny board. They actually have one more, yeah, heavy armored thief. There you go. You can do it. So the War Gloves have a additional Q slot ability. Basically, it uses kind of like your QWER type system for skills, and your weapons are basically your Q slot ability, your first ability. And all weapons have two of those that you can choose from. For instance, the sword, the basic one-handed sword, offers a choice between a heavy strike or a like AoE sweep attack. So the War Gloves have 3 to choose from instead, which gives them a little bit more flexibility. They also have a few other abilities. They have a triple kick flying ability. which can even be used to drag other players with you. You have like a explosive ability, like from the battle bracers that can like, blow enemies back in the air, and resets your Q cooldown. And then there's like a 3-part combo where you can use like roundhouse kick, dive kick, purifying fist, and basically knock enemies away, knock them up, deal a bunch of damage. So this is actually the first new weapon line in a while, and it's for essentially the warrior path, as we talked about, using, power and everything. There are 3 general paths you can go along, the other 2 being hunter and mage. And the hunter and mage do not have new weapons yet, but it is something that they are working on for future updates. So it's a pretty neat system. What you looking at there, Foxed? Okay. So yeah, you have kind of a loose progression system with this, where you get experience. I mean, it's sort of like experience, but you get different types of experience doing activities, and doing those activities gets you further along on the Destiny board.
Good on.
No, there's nothing gender locked in the game. The character creation is not like super in depth, but I think part of that's just because the style of the game is kind of I don't want to say reduced style. I don't know what I'm trying to say about that, but you can choose male and female, and then everything is just open. So there's no gender locking at all in what you do or what the gear looks like or anything. There are like custom outfits and stuff you can get to, and all of that is neat for both genders, so you don't have to worry about that here. So yeah, that's kind of what we're working on right now. Hi, Tyrone. So that's kind of what we're working on here right now. So let's talk. I'll go ahead and talk about more of the stuff. And Outfox, if you ever want to say anything about what you're doing or whatnot, just let me.
Put it there.
It's not. Yeah, the game also has a reroll system, which you can take a piece of gear and you can try to reroll it for better stats, better quality, which is something that they've worked on in this update too, to improve it and make it a little bit easier to use. You probably won't see us using that today because it's not really designed for people that are low level and low tier. Alright, there you go. So yeah, so if you make something and you want to try to make it better, you can try to re-roll it using materials, and I think it's silver, was it right? Silver's, yeah. So there's the base currency in the game is silver, and then I believe gold is the premium currency. Yeah. So you can just use silver to try to re-roll your items to make them better. So speaking of items and crafting, since that's kind of what we're working on right now, because it's a sandbox game, everything essentially in this game is crafted by hand, crafted by players, which means everything is gathered by players. There are quite a number of things that you can gather. You've got your wood and ore, you've got stone, you've got fiber for cloth. I'm forgetting something. wood or stone. Skin. Yeah. So you can get hides from animals. Yeah, I agree. I like the idea of a rerolling system for weapons, Amatsu. It's nice to be able to have that option, and to not, unfortunately, like older MMORPGs, some of the old crew, you know, like looking back at like games that are like 10 years old or so, would have a reroll system to try to get stronger gear, but it would highly risk destroying the gear outright, which is just absolutely heartbreaking. And it was basically done to make you buy things in the premium shop to guarantee your success. And you don't have that here. If I remember right, everything in the premium shop is cosmetic. Well, there are premium subscription options, which I mentioned before. It's completely free to play, but it does have a premium subscription option, which basically boosts your growth and how much you gather, stuff like that. But yeah, everything else you can buy gold, you can buy vanity items, which are like mount skins and wardrobe skins. But there's like, you know, no other boost or anything. Yeah, Black Desert's guilty of that for sure. Just disappointing because it's a newer game. But, so yeah, you have to gather. I mean, you can also rely on players. There's an open marketplace, you know, so you can trade with players. But the general idea is you need to go and gather the items that you need to make your gear. So you need to, you know, get your cloth, your wood, your fiber, all of that, and then you need to go refine it in town, and then you need to turn it into the gear that you want to make. Yeah, this is something that they updated and changed the zone maps a little bit in this update too to make it easier to find this stuff. So you don't have to go looking up, okay, where do I get tier 3 leather in the steppes, or anything like that. So, you know, you basically, assuming, like, let's just say, you know, you're relying on yourself and you're not heading to the marketplace to buy everything. You're gonna, you know, head out and gather the items you need. Which is just a pretty simple click system. Resources regenerate fairly quickly, and you know, you just like chop down a tree, and it's got like 9 logs on it, and you chop it like 3 times and get all 9 logs. You can interrupt in between. So it's kind of like that basic gathering system. And it does destroy it in the world, but only for a brief amount of time, and then it regenerates. So even when there's a lot of people around, you're generally going to be fine being able to find something that you need. And because the game is quite open and everything, if it really is bad, then you can always just head to another area. Yeah, loot goblins, it works out nicely. So, you know, you go out and you gather everything that you need and you bring it back to town. When you bring it back to town, there are different areas where you can refine the things that you brought in. Refining itself is its kind of own skill, just like crafting is. But refining is very quick and easy to do. You basically go to the specific refiner that you're looking for. Like, say, you know, going to take hides to a tanner, and it will give you the option of the refinements that you have available. So, you know, if you have like up to tier 2 refinements available, you'll see the options on what they require. You click on what you want, you select the quantity, you know, whether it's max, it defaults to max, or something else, and you click the button and it's done. It doesn't like take any time at all. You don't have to stand around and wait for processing, like you would in, say, like World of Warcraft or something. It's just done, and it doesn't cost any money, if I remember right, either, to refine. So you go refine this stuff, and then you head to one of basically the crafting stations, Again, it's split up. The crafting stations are split up based on like 4 types. You're based on your warrior, your mage, your hunter types, and then your tinkerer, which is like all of your crafting stuff. Like your pickaxes and size and stuff like that. So you go to wherever you need to make the gear, you see what you need, you click it, and again, it just makes it instantly. You have a chance of getting higher quality, but it just makes it instantly. So there's no like standing around waiting for it to process or anything, which, you know, while it can be realistic, it can also be incredibly frustrating, especially when you just spent like a half hour or an hour going around gathering all the materials. You don't want to spend another half hour processing it. So it's a nice little thing to be able to do. And yeah, once you make your gear, you flip it and you head out and you do more stuff. So you've got a number of types of gear. I mentioned the armor before, which is basically you have your cloth light armor, which is highly offensive and has like different spells and stuff on it for skills. You've got your medium armor, which is going to kind of be in between. Pretty good on the offense, but offers a little bit more defense. And then you've got your plate armor, which is obviously a lot more defensive, not very offensive. But easily works out. And then you've got like a whole bunch of different weapon types in each type. So you've got like one-handed swords, two-handed axes, the war gloves, which I mentioned. You got bows, different kinds of staves, that kind of thing. So, you know, it's a very open-ended thing. Even mounts in this game are actually obtained by players. You get your basic mount, which is this donkey that we've been riding around on. You get your basic mount for free. Well, essentially for free in the tutorial starting zone. But after that, you have to go tame animals to have them as mounts. But they offer different aspects as well. Some can be faster mounts. Some can offer a little more like pack space, stuff like that, because you do have inventory to manage, and that includes managing your inventory weight. So if your inventory, yeah, how much over are you? I can't see it on my screen. Yeah. So, you know, when you're over on your weight limit, you slow down. Just a little bit, just gonna slow you down a bit, but the more you're over, the more you slow down. So, you know, that's all something to keep in mind. But these are, you know, kind of your basic sandbox style interactions. The world is divided up into 5 biomes. Yeah, you know, Game Age, this is, as I mentioned at the start of the stream, this is actually one of our first times playing it. We've been familiar with it in games like it, but this is actually our first time having our hands on it this week. And honestly, I mean, I genuinely like it, and might be playing it for a while, because I kind of jive with it. I've been really impressed with it so far. That said, you know, that's all early game stuff. I can't talk about what the late game experience is like for folks. I know that people have talked about, you know, the fact that you can buy gold or various things, but that's something I can't really touch on here today because I just don't have the information on hand, don't have the experience. So if it's something you're concerned about, make sure, you know, if you're going to start playing the game and you like it, make sure you do your research before, you know, you get too invested if there's something you might be concerned in. Which is like good advice for any game that you want to play, especially an MMO, because nothing quite sucks like, you know, spending you know, a couple hundred hours in a game and then being like, you know what, this end game is just not for me. So yeah. So this Lands Awakened update went live this week. One of the things, since I was about to talk about biomes here, one of the things that was improved were basically what they call graphical improvements to biomes. I kind of think of it more as like a zone rework. I don't know if I would consider it necessarily graphical improvement, but that's how I would consider it. Basically, there are 5 biome types. There is forest, swamp, steppe, which is where we are at here, mountain, and highlands. Yeah, I've noticed that the crafting game is pretty deep. Like, it seems like you'll definitely, if you want to, like, solo or, you know, rely on yourself and just, like, a butt or two, that it's going to take a lot longer to make the things you want to progress. And, you know, if you're fine with that, then it's cool, but, you know, if you want to, you know, go faster, then you're probably going to want to rely on other players, more experienced players, stuff like that. So the biome... Sorry. Oh, did you make them? Cool. So why don't you go ahead and go over what skills you got available? Neat. What type of armor are you going to work with here? Are you just going to use the medium? Okay, cool. Those look huge on your hands. Like, I would not want to mess with somebody if they were wearing gloves that big. And I know Outfox doesn't have an eye on chat, but Game Age has said basically if you're planning on soloing very often, you recommend focusing on a crafting weapon called Death Giver. I'm curious, Game Age, what line is that? Warrior, Hunter, or Mage? Because, yeah, I think we'll both probably be playing this for a bit at least, because it's pretty enjoyable. It's a little nostalgic, and I don't know, there's just something about it to me that has a little charm. So we are in the Well and Waiting, it's a dagger. Okay, cool. I will have to look into that for solo stuff. So we are in the steppe biome right now, speaking of biomes. And then there's also mountains and highlands. And, you know, when you start the game, you basically pick which of the biomes that you're going to head into.
On the hunt?
Am I distracting you? Like, well, I'm sorry if I'm distracting you. You're gonna have to put up with me for
Sticking
that.
with the pointy end.
So each of these zones has basically gotten a rework with this update, with the idea to make each of them look a little more distinct and diverse and different. They're designed so that they basically have a little bit more of their feel. So, and they change the higher tier that you get into because, again, this isn't a level-based game. So instead, you've basically got tiers of everything from your gear to your combat ability, and that includes the areas you're going into. So like the forest biome, you kind of go from like a lush and welcoming forest, to the higher tiers are like more overgrown and mystical. The swamp biome, you go from kind of like mild wetlands to foggy and flooded areas. The steppe, which is where we're at, is like a kind of a soft grassland, mild rocky area, which to eventually gets to like, arid desert-like landscapes with bones and extreme heat and stuff like that. You have your mountain area, which goes from kind of like a sunny, mild mountain areas to like really, frozen heights kind of thing. Are those in town? Oh, okay. Oh, they're just. For whatever reason, I looked at them because I have the screen smaller. I looked at them and I thought they were like cats or panthers or something. They were just gazelle, huh? Okay. Sorry, I'm distracted because I'm watching with you guys. I'm not in game with him, so. And then we've got the Highlands, which are like the go from the gentle hills to like high altitude areas that have a real kind of mythical feel to them. So, it's kind of nice because you'll know visually based on where you're at, what you're looking at. And as you can see, like looking at the world map, everything is connected. And you can travel between areas and everything. So, you can explore and go between things. It's not like if you choose the steppe area, you'll never be able to leave it. And, it's just kind of been designed. The zones were also designed to create some more tactical, environmental, tactical feelings, with more natural choke points, things like that. Which isn't something you'll probably see in the zones we're in, because again, we're low level. But should be more noticeable in the higher level and PvP zones, where there should feel a little bit more like these zone maps are a little more environmental, have a lot more environmental tactical decisions to kind of make and think about. So that said, let's see. So punching and kicking deer. Yep. How's the weapon feeling so far? Punchy. I mean, you've got like an anvil on each fist, so I'm surprised you can get hides out of those things after you finish with them. So another thing that was done with this update was to kind of try to improve the open world PvE, making it a little bit more interesting and accessible for all kind of player types, from your solo and your small groups to your larger group folk. Again, you can stick with PvE the entire time if you want. You will miss out on certain areas or certain things, but you choose what you want to do. That's what you should be doing, is having fun in the game however that suits you. The Game Age says that, Albion's great, but the only problem with me is that I'm farming and the game needs time, which I don't have. You're looking up for a new upcoming game similar called V Rising. Yeah, V Rising. Oh shoot, I forgot who was developing that now. Yeah, the vampire survival from Stunlock, who did Battle Right and Bloodline Champions. You remember that?
Later then.
Yeah, I mean, farming takes time. Obviously I haven't gotten into farming in the game yet. I think it's probably going to be true of all like online games that something is going to take a huge time sink out of you because they want you to keep playing. So, you know, and they want to gate progress a bit. But you know, it'll be interesting to see V Rising when it gets a little bit more developed, and hopefully we'll be able to cover that too when it comes out. But you know, Albion Online this has made a lot of progress over the time that it's been online. Didn't even used to be free to play. I think free to play was a good option for it. And I don't necessarily think that all games need to go free to play, but I think a game like this that's a sandbox game really does benefit from having a more open player base. But it looks really great. It's definitely in good shape. The developers have definitely been constantly active and paying attention to what's going on and sharing updates and working on that kind of thing. Yeah, loading screen through the regions. I get that. Honestly, I was a little bit surprised at the zone size here. In arcade, wow. Too many sandbox games. I was... Nope. You know, in Albion, I was a little bit surprised by the zone system, because, like, I started, like, one of my first, I mean, really my first MMO was Ultima Online. I'm an older gamer, and so I'm used to Ultima Online's, you know, like, open world, and a lot of other sandboxes have a more fully open world where you don't have zones. But I mean, there's benefits to having it zoned too.
Of course. Let's get to work.
So you know, it's kind of like, you know, I can deal with it. If it helps the game, makes the game work better. But it did kind of surprise me that it was a zone by zone area instead of a more open world map. At the very least, I kind of expected like each biome would be interconnected without zoning. But it does help loading times and latency and everything for people if things are zoned down. And I can also see benefits for it for PvP. So, one second.
You planning something? Deadly choice.
Horror punk, yeah. Does look interesting too. There's a lot of interesting games on the horizon. I feel like a lot of... I mean, I bet, like I said, I'm an older gamer. And I've been in the industry now for...
Ready for the wild?
12 and a half years. And while I wouldn't say that like MMOs are dying or anything, I think that's a little overdone. I think right now a lot of the MMO trend is kind of chasing something new that works. Something that works for players and works for devs. And a lot of it's economical. When we were, you know, when MMO started out, you know, buy to play with subscription was absolutely the standard. Free to play was something that was, you know, weird and new from the Eastern developers, and, you know, but that was like so heavily monetized with item shops and stuff. And it's eventually switched over, but that's because, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, we had people had a lot more disposable income, honestly, and had more freedom to go, yeah, I can spend, $50, to buy a game, and then, 15 a month or more to play it. Sure, but now we have gaming is more accessible and people have less money. So free to play has kind of taken over the market. And that's like, on one hand, that's a good thing because it means more people get access to more games. But on the other hand, free to play is a rough business model to run. And, most companies struggle to get it right. Some companies try to stay away from the free-to-play because they're worried about the free-to-play business model, but then if you don't go free-to-play nowadays, you really run the risk of not having the players to sustain the game. So yeah, I mean, like, right now it's Battle Royales. A few years ago it was nothing but MOBAs. We're going to start seeing probably some more party-style games to, have things like, based on things like Among Us, Fall Guys, and stuff. James Bond's still around. He is still doing our weekly recap every week. Unfortunately, we don't do a lot of video content outside of the recap anymore. We had a lot of staff cuts. But yeah, James is still here, and still does the weekly recap here. And he does also have, his own channel where he mostly just posts the recap there as well. But he's still around, he's still doing well. Just had his second kid, so his family has grown, but he's still out there doing his thing. Omer's long gone. He's running his own site again now. He was doing video content for a while, but he stopped. So, but there's not a whole lot of us left here, unfortunately. But yeah, James is still here. So, yeah. And I lost my train of thought. How's punching deer going for you? Yeah. Yeah.
Good hunt. Stand back.
Yeah, I mean, there are things, Game Age, that I miss about, like, the old MMO games in general. And there are things I don't miss. It's like the whole, like, WoW and WoW Classic syndrome. Everybody was like, oh, there were so many people that I knew that were like, oh man, I can't wait for WoW Classic. And I'm like, are you kidding me? WoW Classic was terrible. I mean, like, yeah, it has nostalgia for me. It has memories, but it's like, I don't want to spend 6 to 10 hours a day grinding mats to raid once a week. No, thank you. Everything has, like, its good and its bad aspects, but right now, like I said, I think the main problem in the industry is that we're really fighting with business models and, available income. Obviously, we're seeing a lot more free-to-play right now, but that's because people just can't afford to burn money on games. And if they are going to burn money on games, they're going to burn it on a well-known franchise like Call of Duty, versus some brand new shooter or something like that. So it's an interesting time. We're constantly watching how the MMO industry ups and changes, but coming back to, like, topic here with Albion Online. It's it's kind of a modern take on the old Ultima Online style of game, which people are always clamoring for. Ultima Online and DAOC. Yeah, I'd never do Call of Duty myself, but I'm not much of a shooter person anyway, but I definitely would do Call of Duty if I was. So that's just me though. And that's putting aside issues with Activision and Kotick, which I won't get into in this stream because I'm sure sponsors don't want me to go off on a tangent too much. But Albion Online kind of comes back to that old style of sandbox MMORPG that Ultima Online had, but with some more modern changes and some more modern understanding of what players like and don't like. For instance, with the open world PvP ganking, being limited, and things like making crafting and gathering, I don't want to say infinitely easier, but easier. Just kind of adapting systems as we learn more about games and change game technology. And I think it's nice to be able to go to a game that's got the old style to it, got the old spirit, as it were, of a game that, used to be around. Yeah. And I don't mean that Ultima Online used to be around. It's still online. That's not what I meant. But, kind of, just a revitalization of the old MMOs with new modern takes, I think is a good thing. Because we need to always be improving our games as we learn more of what works, what doesn't, what people like, what people don't like, and then just technology changes and stuff like that. I mean, I never thought, like, back in the early days of MMOs that we would have things like quest directive markers or, on-screen things to tell you where your quest tells you where to go. Just never struck me as that. I'm gonna head into a random dungeon here, y'all. Ah, okay. Well, there you go. Go beat up some bad guys. Yeah, remasters are another topic entirely, unfortunately. I have a lot of thoughts about remasters, but I will stay on topic here. Because again, this is a sponsored stream, so I don't want to go too off topic at any one point. But I agree that it's kind of like, movies go through their sequel phases. Right now we're kind of going through a remaster phase with gaming in general. So one of the things that was updated in this Lands Awakened update was a goal of improving the open world PvE, and just kind of trying to make it more accessible and more interesting for all players, especially for solo and small groups who you can definitely feel at a disadvantage if you're out in an area and a larger group is kind of owning or kind of controlling the area and making it hard for you to access the things you want or need with what's going on in the game. Like I mentioned with crafting earlier, for instance, you want your resources to be able to recharge fast because if you want to go out there and gather what you need to make something and you can't because there's too many people gathering there, then you're gonna feel disadvantaged. But one of the things that they did, which I find pretty interesting and I kind of look forward to experiencing as I get further into the game, is that they made it so that enemies will upgrade to more powerful versions the longer they stay alive in game. So, if you've got a less explored so you've got a less explored region that people aren't visiting a lot, those enemies that are already spawned out there will start to continue to get stronger, and as they get stronger, they are going to offer more fame and better loot. So there's kind of an incentive to not stay in the same exact regions, things like that. Kind of, Richard. I'm Jamie, boss lady. I've been on here before. Usually I'm not personally streaming, but I've been on chat before plenty of times. The editor-in-chief, Outfox, is playing, and I believe this is actually the first time he's streamed for us. There's several old guys at this point, considering how long we've been around. Jason has moved on. He's working for Esports Talk. Chris has moved into different things. He has a completely different job now. Colton has a completely different job and is working on school right now. James doesn't really stream on here anyway, but he does the weekly recap still. And if we're going back as far as Omer left many, many years ago and has his own site that he manages now. So, yeah. So I mean, we're all alive and ticking. Just lots of things change over the course of 10 years. So the, kind of having an incentive to go into other areas that aren't as popular, for instance, to, nab those enemies that are perhaps upgraded to have, better loot, better fame, stuff like that. Which I think in particular will benefit solo players who are willing to, go off into the regions that other players aren't in, solo or small group players. Yeah, Omar was a very, very fast talker. We still, to this day, people watching our old videos are, half the time we're like, man, what are you on? Take a breath, slow down. But yeah, he does have his own site and stuff now. I don't think he's doing video content anymore, though, or at least not right now. But yeah. So another thing is that the static open world dungeons, so we're in a randomized dungeon here, I believe, right? Yeah. But the static open world dungeons have been kind of redesigned and expanded so that they have multiple entrances that you come into them. So it's not just all funneled through one single entrance, which makes it easier again for, smaller groups or solo players to get in a dungeon and not feel like they're just chasing behind some larger group. They actually have a chance to fight things and get loot and not just be like walking in and going, oh, well, somebody's already here, so I guess I won't get anything out of that. There are also new timed dungeon events, which is something I haven't encountered here, but they mentioned, there are new timed dungeon events, and those offer large rewards for those capable of completing them when they pop up, kind of like, surprise kind of, challenges that come up, and like, hey, if you can beat this wave of mobs, you'll get extra fame and loot, stuff like that. And then we touched on it earlier, but there are those new world map overlays that show you about more information about what's available in a zone in terms of like gear and stuff, or not gear, but like tiers of crafting materials and stuff like that. So when you look at a zone, you know what's available, and you're not running around going, hey, is there any tier 3 wood here, or am I just wasting my time? And just look at the zones like, oh, okay, never mind. But yeah, those are some really like PvE stuff in addition to like this war gloves, which is now what we're using here, which is a new warrior style weapon. Just very punchy. Interesting to watch you try to dodge these guys with it, though. stop trying to loot in combat. I mean, you can change it so that you can loot in combat, but probably better that you don't. Pay more attention to fighting. But I get it. It's like, oh, loot must click. So yeah. Let's see. Is there any other PvE stuff that we went over? Let's see. There's actually quite a bit here. In the weapons, you know, I mentioned that you can kind of specialize in using a specific weapon and get better at it. Previously, you could specialize up to level 100 of a weapon mastery. That has now increased with the addition of elite levels. And those allow you to take it past the 100 cap to 120. And that can be unlocked with fame credits and silver. Which they say increases the maximum possible specialization bonuses by 60 points of item power. I'm gonna admit, I don't know what that means. Yeah, that's one of those things that I trust that somebody playing this game. You know, again, we're not experts here. We're relatively new to the game. But yeah, that's something that changed. And you can actually, there are new badges that appear on equipped items when you've got those elite levels. So that you can see the level of specialization that's been achieved on them. And that appears not only on your own weapons, but you can see it when you're inspecting another player or like in the kill details if you're like in PvP. The other thing to note is that fame progression, which fame is kind of like your experience in some regards, kind of like your experience points, has been increased about 20% across the board for combat, crafting, gathering, farming, which means that generally progression is just going to be a little bit faster, a little bit higher than it had been before. Not, you know, necessarily like, oh, like 100% jump or anything like that, but 20% is a good chunk of stuff, and it's probably going to be pretty meaningful to a lot of folks, especially the further you go in. Let's see. So we talked about the re-rolling. Talked about the map overlays. So focus and base crafting costs for a lot of consumables and mounts have also been kind of changed and rebalanced. There were a lot of combat balance changes made as well. Something I can't personally touch on, but in the description of the stream, there are a couple of links down there that you can click on. The first one should just take you straight to Albion to sign up. If you don't have an account yet, if you want to sign up for an account for Albion, you can use that link. That is a sponsored link, just so you know. And then the second link is just an overview of everything that's in this update, and goes into a lot more detail than I'm going into because it's a huge update. And it's the Lands Awakened update. And you'll want to follow that if you want to get absolutely all the details, because, like I said, I'm new, you know, and I've got my points, but I don't necessarily know all the details or the nuances of everything at this point. So I'm just offering you what I got. But we appreciate it. So there's also been a lot of changes made to PvP, which is something you won't see on stream today. I'm like 99% positive we're not going to have any PvP today. And it's a lot of it's more endgame PvP result stuff anyway. So there are 2 new open world PvP objectives that have been added. One of them are treasures, and these treasures spawn at random intervals with randomized loot values. When they spawn, they only show up if you're close to them on the map. So you can't just see them if you're like somewhere on the map. You need to be relatively close to spot them. which will give, again, a little bit more of a chance and advantage to solo players or small groups who are out there exploring to be like, oh, hey, I found a treasure, I can grab this and get this loot. In terms of like more guild-based stuff, there are 2 new things that can be found and brought back to a hideout or territory. And those are power cores and energy crystals, which I'll touch on a little bit more as to what those affect specifically. But basically, both of those are a little bit like a mini capture the flag situation. You have to bring them back to your territory or hideout, but you can't use mounts to do so. So you've got to kind of carry them, and it's kind of very much a capture the flag because, you know, if somebody drops it, then an enemy player can pick it up and drag it back. So you kind of add like open world capture the flag mini objectives into PvP. Guild seasons have been reworked. And the new guild season actually started today, I believe. Season 14 started today. There is what's called the Conquerors Challenge, which is open to everybody in a guild, and you can earn might and favor through a whole bunch of activities that contribute to the guild's overall might level. And those might levels bring rewards to the guild as it grows. Which lets all guilds, but especially like smaller and mid-sized guilds, grow in new ways. And I should mention and point out for those of you who are a little bit more solo or duo type people, you can have a solo guild or a duo guild if you want, and you can build it up on your own. So, you know, if that's something that you're interested in, you're like, oh yeah, I want my own guild or whatever. That is a possibility. They don't force you to have like 10 players or 6 players or anything like that. So that's another cool little bit. And then your territory energy level is now based on energy from Crystal League plus those new world open crystals that are part of that like mini capture the flag style thing. Give me a moment here because I'm getting dry throated.
Beasts of burden or battle. We will fight, don't worry. There's nothing I can't tame. Dream.
Alright, cool. So, the headquarter hideouts have given active guilds a more fair chance of making a home in the Outlands. You can earn the ability as a guild to set one of your Outlands hideout as your headquarters. Setting it as a headquarter, you will make it invulnerable to attacks during the region's battle time and during the hideout's third construction phase. Which obviously is really powerful and really useful to have that kind of invulnerability. That said, the invulnerability has to be maintained through boosters, which are gotten through hideout power cores. Those power cores, again, are one of those new objectives that capture the flag type things. So you'll have to grab those and pull them in order to keep that invulnerability on your headquarters. Otherwise, you'll lose it and it'll be available for attack. And then, let's see. Anything else? Yeah, a few other things. So player-created loadouts can be bought through the marketplace now to allow for quicker re-gearing and stuff like that. Harvesting and raising have been kind of streamlined to reduce the clicks that it takes to harvest stuff, which I'm sure you guys have already seen if you've been watching us gather stuff. The owner's fee interface has been changed. There's been some new party commands added to chat. Some various combat balance changes and, you know, some new ability icons and achievements. And then, like, kind of finally the last thing to touch on, which you won't hear very much here, but if you follow the links that are down in the description, you'll be able to catch actual information on this. But they have added music and audio to the game. So there is new adaptive combat music. There are brand new city themes, hideout themes, tutorial and Destiny board music. So there's a whole bunch of new music that they added in to kind of give you some little more audio diversity. And like the second link down below that goes to the description of what all happened with this update actually does have links to talk about the creation of the music and has some of the music pieces themselves if you want to see what some of that new, or hear what some of that new music sounds like. But yeah, I think that covers everything. Yeah, covers everything that has happened in this update. So, how are we doing, Foxed?
You make an excellent target.
Oh, what a weird thing. Never heard of that before. Yeah, these early newbie quests in the area. I've been working on them a little bit myself, but it's easy to get distracted on them too. So that one's sending you to the big city. Cool. So I've talked a lot while you're getting things arranged and moving. What are your thoughts on the game so far, Outfoxed? Yeah, and the theme park style too. Yeah, I feel that. Like, I mean, I've been playing these games so long, and my interests have changed in what I'm interested in with games anymore. So I'm a lot more of a casual gamer than I used to be. Not as interested in. I know it's a bad word. I'm a dirty casual, but what can I say? I'm old enough and tired enough now that I'm just not really interested in a lot of things like, scheduled endgame content every week, doing raids and stuff like that. I'm not opposed to it. It's not that it's a bad system. It's just one of those things that just isn't for me anymore, especially like, I've taken a lot more interest in, single player games, things like that.
Your island awaits.
But yeah, like, I'm a little bit more casual minded now. I'm a little bit more relaxed with how I approach online gaming. And so what I've personally liked about Albion is the fact that it does kind of just let you work at your own pace and gather the stuff you want. And if you're chill with like being like, okay, today I'm gonna go gather all the stuff I need to make this item, and then that item, and okay, now that I've got my gear, I'm gonna work on this objective. It's kind of ideal for somebody who kind of wants the generalized chill solo sandbox experience and not have to worry about like, oh no, well, I'm alone mining in the wood, out in the wilderness, I'm gonna get ganked by that, PvPer that follows down this road every like. What's that? Huh, well, there you go. It is very obvious. But yeah, like, you know, it's nice to be able to kind of choose when I want to PvP in a game like this. And it's also nice to be able to just have the open ability to do whatever I want, whenever I want, and however much I want without a whole lot of hassle, a whole lot of worrying about it. So far, at least like early game, it's just really solo friendly, and small group friendly. I can't tell that you're in a major city, not at all. This is one thing, I mean, I haven't found any option for it. I do kind of wish that you could hide players, at least temporarily, because when you're in a major city like this and you've got tons of people all around, you might not want them on your screen for a little bit while you're trying to find stuff, but that's me. But, you know, I like the fact that there are actual, like, in-game NPC controlled outposts and cities, because I think it's kind of essential that a game has that available so that players can access that whenever they need to. Some sandbox games are literally like hands off and like, you gotta do everything. You want a village, you gotta make a village. You want a crafting area, you gotta make a crafting area. Which is kind of circular sometimes because it's like, well, how am I gonna make a crafting area if I don't have a crafting area? And it becomes it's really difficult. Like in real life, it is in games too. It's really difficult to build a village on your own or even with a group of players. You know, player towns are something I love, but I don't think they should be the only thing in a game. I would like to... Huh? Oh. Never mind. I was gonna say this must be the bank. Oh dear. Yeah, you know, I like that capacity to be able to do your own thing, as it were, and not worry too much about what other people are doing. If you want to, you can. And, you know, I've seen a lot of activity that we have the chat kind of turned mostly off, just because it's really active and really distracting, and you know, don't necessarily need it on stream. But the game is really active. I mean, obviously you can see tons of players here as well, but the game is very active. There's constantly groups running for different activities. So it's not something where you have to worry about like, oh, it's a dead game. It's very much alive, and you know, quite honestly, I would say, you know, this latest update has definitely given it some additional life. So if you haven't checked it out yet, if you've been on the fence or you kind of been hesitant, honestly, I would recommend that you at least check it out. It is free. You can nab it through their website as a
Want to trade?
also exactly what I would expect.
My pleasure.
They definitely have placeholder art here, don't they? Yeah, well, that's good. But yeah, it is free. They have their own launcher on their website, which is the first link down in the description. Let me just pull that up so I have it on the copy pasta. But, and again, that is a sponsored link, just so you guys know. But, you know, they also have it on Steam. You can get it on Steam and just, you can use the same account regardless. It is also available on several other platforms. Let me make sure I have which ones right. So, yeah, so you don't have to worry about like, oh, I downloaded it on Steam and now I'm locked to a specific Steam account, which has happened in other MMOs for me before. You don't have to worry about that here. It's all tied to the single account, and you can play that. It's full crossplay. So in addition to being available on Windows, it's also available on Linux and Mac OS X. And it's available on both Android and the iOS. So you can play it on a lot of things. You can play it on your iPad, iPhone, you know. So, and you're not very limited by your, PC OS if you've got a PC. So it's really accessible. Not a huge game in terms of the file size. Gotta remember where I have this here. Actually, I don't remember which drive I installed it to now, so that's kind of a... Oh, yeah. I know where it's at. I don't know where it's at. Anyway, it's not as big as some MMOs. It's, I think, around 14-15 gig, maybe, if that. It's, fairly friendly to mid-core systems, as well as obviously high tier systems, but because it's stylized and top down, you don't need to worry about having like the most amazing processors or whatever. And because combat is like a lot like, it's got an ARPG styling to it. So, if you'd like the kind of like top down or ARPG style, it's also worth playing and checking out, So it's got a lot of charm to it, I think. And there is definitely always something new that you can be achieving, or something you can be working towards earning, farming, or finding. That said, being a sandbox game like it is going to be a little more grindy. A lot more grindy, I should say, probably. But you're always making progress on something. Because everything you do in the game, pretty much except running around on your mount, and I might even be wrong on that, but pretty much everything you do in the game is putting progress towards something. So you're never like completely just like, I'm wasting my time trying to do this or whatever. Ooh, why is that one gold? Oh, that might make sense. Or maybe it's a static. I don't know. Well, yeah, then you definitely don't want to go alone. But yeah, like, it's really worth, I think, checking out. I hadn't given the game, like I said earlier on, I hadn't tried the game out before at all. And I'm kind of glad that I have. I definitely will be playing it more on my own, and just kind of like checking out and getting a feel for it and seeing how much I enjoy it as someone who plays more casually. And I definitely see the appeal for, the PvP and like endgame PvE stuff too. It looks pretty interesting, so... And again, free game, always fine to check it out. And, if you do download it and you're on PC, I do recommend that you go through Steam, just because I like Steam's downloader, and it makes it a lot easier to get your updates all at once and have a faster download rate. That's my personal thing. If you don't like Steam, or if you're not on like a Windows PC, it's not as big a deal. But I am going to step away for a couple of minutes if Outfox can keep you entertained with whatever strangeness you are working on right now.
Excuse me? Yes? Phew.
Alright, I'm back. So, have you checked the marketplace for a mount yet? What, you don't have 18,000 silver as a newbie? I mean, having seen Cassowary, yeah. Mm-hmm. These guys are just like, no, it's cool. You're punching us. I see. So, yeah, basically your best bet to get a new mount would be to buy one on the marketplace right now, because otherwise you would need to basically raise farm animals and raise a horse from a foal, and then make it and craft it into a mount, essentially. So. Oh, I mean, no, the foal grows up into a horse, and then you craft the horse with leather into to make it a riding horse, because that makes a saddle for it. Yes. Keep adding horses. More horses. There are also like faction mounts and stuff like that. But your basic mount that you're gonna have access to, yeah, that's what you're looking at. Punch some things. Punch lots of things. Don't forget to loot the things, though. Hmm.
Come here.
Thing, if I can find a little bit more info. I do appreciate all of the videos, but I don't want to watch a video right now, thank you. I can't directly or quickly, I suppose, find information on what that stacking buff is. I'm assuming it's probably like the or the one that was with the swords, where it like boosts your normal attack damage or speed, possibly. It gives you lots of swirlies. Omar has left long ago, many years ago, Laszlo. He has moved on to his own website now. He started a new website. He does not seem to do video content anymore, though. Maybe not. But, you know, you gotta do what you gotta. Yeah, that doesn't help. Have you picked up any potions at all? Have you equipped your food at least and used that? Oh, okay. Gosh, you're such a noob. I'm just teasing you, of course. Touch yourself. Yeah. Yeah, I can get that. I used one last night when I was playing and I was like, oh, this is actually quite nice. I guess I should probably learn to make more of that. Part 2, it seems like a lot of the player feedback has been really positive on the War Gloves for people that have played it. You know, they add a completely new kind of mechanic and rhythm to the game. So, you know, might be changing the meta and stuff too around it. And that will obviously take some time, but it definitely seems like it's a, you know, interesting new direction. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with for hunters and mages. It did also change a little bit of how mounts work, which we wouldn't have noticed since we started playing after the update. But one of the things that they did is that if you dismount without any player nearby, your weapon skills don't have a cooldown where they used to before. So you can immediately, like if you're solo, you can just basically immediately dismount and get into the action or start gathering, which is really nice. A lot of people are reporting that the solo play is a lot better, especially with the fame increase that they gave it. Yeah, this update has definitely made the game a lot more solo and small group friendly. A lot of players who previously enjoyed solo but were really not enjoying the solo experience have reported that it's a lot better now, even in higher level zones and stuff, especially with the fame increase and the loot increase and stuff. So it's really good to hear. Again, another reason to check the game out with this new update, if you haven't. They made the open world a lot more rewarding for players, so that it's not just, oh, well, you need to go in dungeons and that's it. Yeah, you should probably wait a little bit and recover that.
Let's open a can of warpath.
And you look like you're really destroying the boss with the war gloves. Yeah, like, you really held your own quite well there. Yeah, go kill some stuff in open world with it. Get a feel for it. And just so you know, we are about 15 minutes out from ending the stream. So if anyone's like hanging around and has any questions, feel free to ask. We are on, I think we are at least, on subscriber chat mode, so if you can't send something in chat, just subscribe to the channel and you'll be able to chat in a couple of minutes. It's free, it doesn't cost you anything, you can unsubscribe if you really want to after, but you know. We just do that because YouTube's YouTube's live stream chats can get extremely hard to moderate without it on, especially because there are a lot of bots and spammers, so we just do it to try to help reduce any kind of issues like that. It was basically a closing charge attack, right? Okay. Okay, I see. Maybe it would be useful, like, if you were to group a little bit more. Solo. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I mean, yeah. Kinda depends what you're grouped with, what you're doing. Never forget. A lot of times put in MMOs just because it's a trope. Although it's like frequently kill 10 foxes, or... Outfox does not like it when you have to kill foxes. I mean, after all, they are the wittiest fox. I think the hardest thing for me in this game is the weight limit and wanting to gather all the things. Because I mean, we've become so used to games that don't have weight limits and let you gather all the things, and your inventory limit is like nothing, you know. Yeah, not Genshin time right now. But you know, it's gonna take some adapting to get used to that, and to not want to just like gather all the things and be like, oh, I kind of have way too much crap on me. Yep. I mean, I was even gathering like tier 1 material last night because I was like, oh, a tree, click. I don't need these. They're used to craft beginner stuff, but you pretty much have beginner stuff already, so by the time you're out of it. I mean, it has very limited use, basically. it's just like, oh, why am I clicking on these things?
Finest tools.
At least they don't do the thing where they make it like glow or sparkle or whatever, because that just really triggers the brain to be like, I must collect a thing. But, you know, I think too what's nice about it is, I mean, in a way, it makes you stay focused on a specific task. You know, you can be like, okay.
Goodbye.
You know, you can be like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna go out and gather, or like one or two things. Like, I'm gonna go out into the zone, and I'm gonna gather wood and hides, and that's it. And then I'm gonna come back and process them, and then I'll go gather this or that. So, you know, maybe encourages focus, but it's just also one of those things. It's like, but, I must harvest all the things. All the things. At least you're in town now.
Good day.
Yeah, which is why I think I see a lot of people running around with oxen, which are obviously more pack animals, so you can carry more stuff on them.
Outstanding.
And yeah, I didn't really bring it up because we haven't experienced it directly. But you do actually get your own island with your own like farm and everything, so you can, you know, raise animals and stuff like that. It's quite in depth into what you can do, and you can do all the things slowly, or you can specialize in things. I will not be surprised, as a forever horse girl myself, if I don't get into like mounts and you know, breeding and selling mounts as a horse girl, because, you know, horses, yay. But, you know, I'm silly like that. Does your bank have a limit at all? Looks like there is, possibly. Things like... Oh, you can have like 100,000 kilograms. Oh, it gives you an estimated market value of everything you've stashed. Fun. So you can have an idea of how rich you are without being rich. Like, I'm totally rich. Just haven't converted my assets yet. Congratulations on mastering Jacket Fighter.
Let me guess. You need me to fix that.
You're welcome.
Ah, yeah.
Or hunted.
Another thing you can do is study items that are crafted items. You can take them and study them.
Strike true.
Yeah. You can take crafted items and study them, and it destroys the item, but it gives you a lot of
Yes.
what, fame and focus, knowledge points, learning points. Oh, I remember these things. Yeah, crafting fame is what I was thinking of. Yeah. So, you know, you can destroy the item and learn from that, which is also just really useful, so cool concept.
Stay civilized.
Shall I fix or break that?
Just gotta give a shout out to Necropasta because that's a cool name.
Take care.
You probably didn't notice them, but I did. Not sure. Oh, is it? It really looked like Necropasta to me. Darn. Well, I'm saving that name. I want to be Necropasta. Not a good idea? Great idea.
At your service. Fine by me.
Ready to cut stone?
Yeah. Who says you have to? Maybe you
Bye.
just
Building
Jump.
something?
you just come back and get
Easy
it.
work.
Well,
Only the highest quality.
you just make it like this is my tier 2 crafting spot. And then go on to your tier 3 crafting spot
Goodbye.
or something. Just be like, all my tier 2 stuff is going to be here. All my tier 3 stuff over here. And then if you do need to transfer, it won't be nearly as much.
Finest tools.
What do you think? Do you think you would stick with war gloves for your personal character?
Very well.
Just punch. But better than EQ monks where you couldn't have anything on you, including money.
To fabric.
Those are
Bye-bye.
the good old days.
What is it?
It's just alert.
Sorted.
Wonder if it's you completed the one quest and the other ones that he had you didn't take or something.
There is no problem.
And now you can't access them. Oh, that's just a guess.
You planning something?
Yeah.
Beware of the wild.
Broke your stuff again. Careful. See you soon.
That was something I hadn't really paid attention to before.
Yes.
How badly. Like,
Stay civilized.
I was just wondering, like, how much percent it had changed down to, but obviously you've already repaired it.
Nowhere to hide.
Because I think when you, like, mouse over it, if it's not repaired, that it'll show you how much was used. Like 97% or whatever. That's not that bad. What about your gloves?
Good eye.
Yeah, I mean, you are going to punch a lot of things. A lot of them.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just looking at the time. It looks like we are ready to wrap up. So yeah, guys, again, this is a sponsored stream for Albion Online. They just recently had their Lands Awakened update, just went live this week. They added a whole bunch of open world stuff, made the game a lot more solo and small group friendly. There's a link in chat or in the description of the video if you're watching it afterwards. That is a sponsored link where you can sign up for an account if you don't have an Albion Online account. Again, it is free to play, and you can play it on Windows, Mac, Linux, Android, iOS. So you have a lot of options there. No console builds right now. Don't know if that's going to happen in the future or not. And all of those are cross-play, so your account will go through whatever. The update is really expansive, and we've got a link. This one is not really a sponsored link. It's just their information link about this latest update. Again, it does a lot of open world changes for PvE and PvP, a lot of solo-friendly changes and small group changes. Brand new weapon, the War Gloves, which is what we've been playing with today. You know, lots of stuff, lots of good stuff. You capture the flag stuff in PvP. Changes to zones. Changes to guild seasons. New audio, new soundtrack tracks for a lot of things. Lots of quality of life improvements. Combat balance changes. It's a lot. It's really a lot. And, you know, we recommend that you check it out. Follow that link, check it out, or, you know, log back into your account and try it out again. See how the changes feel to you. See if maybe you want to get back playing it again. Again, I am Jamie, the editor-in-chief, known often here as Boss Lady. Outfoxed is the one that's been playing here for us on screen. And thanks for joining us today. You guys have a great day, great weekend, and, you know, if you're celebrating holidays, enjoy the holidays. Thanks, you guys.